Hello everyone and welcome back to the Gavra Racing GT7 Championship Season 9 Round 6 here at the Circuit de la Sarthe, also famous for hosting the 24 Hours of Le Mans. I'm your commentator X Natty G, and this race has been streamed at a kind of a weird time. It's the middle of the afternoon here on a Sunday evening, but I've literally got no time for the rest of the week, and unfortunately I was going to get someone joining me in the commentary box, but we couldn't quite find the time to do it at the same time. So, yeah, hopefully we'll rearrange that for another time. But tonight is very, I would say, important race in terms of the championship, because there's not long left to go. 3 rounds after this one, and well, we're bringing this championship to a close. This is your grid, by the way, for today's race. Let's run through how they lined up in qualifying. Why did I go so far away? It's the Brit Cameron Kaboom who starts on pole position in his Mercedes AMG. I can't actually remember. I do have a screenshot of the qualifying times, but I don't have it up because that's how prepared I am. So just bear with me for 2 seconds. But it was Cameron Kaboom who qualified on pole position with a lap time that was quicker than everyone else's, because he set a 3-minute 55.4. So an impressive lap time from Cameron Kaboom. It was 4 tenths quicker than the driver who starts in second place. Adam Green in the Subaru joins Cameron on the front row of the grid with a 3:55.9. Just behind him, starting in third place, is the champion, Force Habit. Championship leader, Play Dutchy. He starts third, ahead of championship rival Toussaint, starting in fourth place, ahead of Mr. Bon Evil, who's just joining us in the chat in his Golf Porsche. He starts in fifth place, was 6 tenths off Cameron, but only 300ths behind Toussaint. In third place is myself with a new carbon fibre livery, themed livery for this race. You can just about see, if we just zoom in, you can see it is carbon fibre. It's not a black paint job. After the recent BOP update added another 7 kg to this car, so the BMW's put on a lot of weight since round 1. It's currently seen about 15 kilograms added to it since Mount Panorama, which is not ideal, but hey-ho, hopefully the less paint will help. But besides that, it's another special livery for the BCR team, as they're both Tiger and Toussaint rocking an all-black livery, or black and white livery with the word Le Mans engulfing the main body of the car. You can just about see it in a kind of a dark grey. It's Tiger Assassin, though, who starts 7th in his special McLaren, ahead of another McLaren of Piero, who starts in 8th. Interestingly, Piero was 4.4 seconds off pole position. That just goes to show how much slipstream really benefits your lap here at Le Mans, for those who did and didn't get the slipstream. It's Ted who starts in 9th place in his red and black Mazda, ahead of Littmanen in 10th with a new livery on that McLaren. And it's David T. Shari in the Ferrari, who starts at the back of the pack and starts in 11th place. And there is your grid for today's race here at the Circuit de la Sarthe. And I don't think we should waste any more time in getting this race underway. We've got 3, 4, 5 red lights of this 13-kilometre circuit, 13 laps of Le Mans. It's lights out and away we go, but not for Tim, because he's not moved off the line. Contact at the back. I think that was Littmanen who might have hit the back of the McLaren. It's a good start from Natty in the BMW, who's already up into 4th place, side by side with Toussaint, as Cameron Kaboom leads the field away in towards turn 2. Toussaint trying to send one down the inside of the BMW, but will slot into 4th place for now. Tim's still going in this race. He's in 8th place, just behind Shari. 9th place, sorry. Did not get off the line. From what I understood, he left his handbrake on, or didn't release the handbrake, or something to do with the handbrake. But a good start from Natty, up into 3rd already. Tiger gaining 2 positions, and Bonnie down to 6th place. And Pierre up into 7th. So it's a good start from everybody apart from Tim, who's going to have to try and work his way through the field and at a track that's going to require a lot of fuel saving in this opening stint. Might be quite difficult to overtake, but relatively easy at the same time as everyone is going relatively slowly in their low engine modes. Not really pushing the car to the limits. It's Cameron Kaboom though leading the field down in towards the first chicane down the back straight. Followed by Dutchy in second. Natty slots into third place. 2 Saint in fourth. Tiger, his team are up into fifth. Bonnie Evil's got the first 5/10 penalty of the evening. 5/10 penalty is probably the most common thing you're going to be seeing tonight. But it is Ted who rounds out the back of the pack. Good start from Sharry on his debut, up into 9th place. But Cameron Kaboom leads a long train down towards the second chicane. Here goes 2 Saint and Tiger. They're going for it on the inside of Natty. They're 2 by 2. 2 Saint on the inside. They're 3 wide. Tiger looking to try and go down the inside of Play Dutchy. Natty now has the inside line on the inside of the McLaren. They're going to go side by side on the exit. Pierre's going to try and follow him through. Go side by side with the BMW. Where is Bon Evil going to go? He's going to bump draft the back of the BMW that slots in front of the McLaren. As Bon Evil now pulls up alongside Piero in the run down towards the Mulsanne, I think it's called. But you can see there are a lot of dark liveries on tonight's race. We started with quite a vibrant grid, and we got a little bit darker. Bon Evil's gone down the inside of Natty in towards turn number, I have no idea, as I think that was Sharry getting a little bit out of shape on the exit of the right-hand hairpin. But a little bit of a gap between the BMW and the McLaren, but that should be a gap that quickly reduces with the bump drafting and slipstream effect. And look at the overspeed that these guys are getting, 172 miles per hour. 2 Saints doing in the slipstream behind Cameron Kaboom going in towards Indianapolis for the first time this evening. As Bon Evil's about to slow down for half a second to serve that penalty. There's a Ferrari off in the background. That's Sharry who's got all sorts of out of shapes and onto the grass. And that is actually Sharry out of this race as well. So managed 3 minutes of Le Mans before his debut comes to an end. But Bon Evil serving that penalty is going to slot ahead of Tim in 8th place. Ted perhaps looking for a move on Fortman's in towards the Porsche curves. But not going for any moves there. Can everyone hear me in the chat okay? I didn't do the usual audio test. But because no one said that they can't hear anything, I'm assuming it is okay. But Cameron Kaboom started on pole position. He's going to lead the end of the first lap, going through the final couple of corners. The Brit leads 2 Saint ahead of Play Dutchy. Tiger in 4th, Natty, Piero, Bonnie. Tim, who's gone and taken a lot of curve through the final corner, he's on off into the gravel. Rejoins in 10th place just behind Ted, but a mistake that could be quite costly in this race. He needs to hope that everyone's holding each other up in front, fuel saving quite significantly. So we watch all the cars make their way through the first couple of corners. The first chicane, turn 2 and 3 in sector 1. Cameron Kaboom on those medium compound tyres leads 2 Saint here on lap 2, the 13 laps of Le Mans. That looked a little bit wide. I think there's a time penalty. It's for Tiger Assassin, who's picked that up somewhere in the first set. So my best guess would be through turn 2 or 3, the left-right chicane. It's really easy to take too much curb. The game does invite you to use as much curb as possible, but exploit it too much and you will be given a time penalty. But I think the drivers are just happy to sit behind Cameron Kaboom, lift and coast into these heavy braking zones and save as much fuel as possible as the Mercedes gets a little bit out of shape on the exit of the corner. There's Piero trying to go for a move on Natty, but I think lost the rear on exit and he's conceded the position to Bon Evil, who's up into 6th place. Bump drafting the carbon fibre to BMW down towards the 3rd chicane. As Tiger picked up a penalty in sector 1, 2 Saints picked up one in sector 2. So that's the 2 BCR cars with 5/10 penalties that could be quite costly if that was towards the end of the race, but as the pack is still very close together, might only drop them down to 5th and 6th place. That was Natty running a little bit wide, and there it is. There's another 5/10 penalty. Piero's picked up another one as well. 4 penalties on lap 2 alone, not including the one that Bon Evil picked up in the first half of the race. So Cameron and Dutch here, Ted and Fortmans are the only 2 drivers, I believe, only 4 drivers yet to pick up a time penalty. Tim as well. Track limits out to this track are really easy to pick up. Track is defined by the white lines unless there is a curb. You can use a lot of the curbs here at this circuit. Two Saints going for it though, and Cameron Kaboom, he kind of needs to go for it with that 5/10 penalty. Maybe Tiger might try and follow him through. We might see Nat as well attempting an overtake because they both have time penalties, so they're going to be wanting to be as high up the grid as they can. Natty thought about a move down the inside but not going for it here on that too, but he's going to go for it here on the right-hander. Tiger now side by side, makes a little bit of contact with the BMW. That's Natty up into 4th place, but they all pull over to the right-hand side of the circuit to slow down for half a second. Bon Evil weaving his way through the field. Now has that changed the order? Dutchy's gone up into 2nd, 2 Saint down to 3rd. Natty and Tiger are 5th and 6th place respectively, with Piero pushing the back of that BMW. And you can see the 3 cars in the background, Fortman's, Tim and Ted, a couple of seconds behind this pack, and will need to be fuel saving is not probably what they are thinking of doing, but it's something they need to do to have a competitive chance of some good points at the end of the race. And let's talk a little bit about strategy. We might see drivers pitting around lap 6 or 7 from the mediums on to the softs to go to the end of the race. Should be an easy one stop here at Le Mans, about a 50-minute race, as Tim is all over the back of Fortman's through the final chicane. He doesn't want to take too much curb this time, manages to keep it on track. Is he going to go for a move here on the McLaren? Ted picks up his first penalty of the race. Tim going to work with Fortman to try and close up 2 of the top 7. Lap 3 of 13 and 2 Saints in 3rd, currently 2nd in the standings and behind the current championship leader. Bon Evil thought about going for a move on the inside, but in the end backed out of it. Probably a wise decision from the Brits. Nearly a British top 6 apart from Dutchy, who's running in 2nd place. Statistically the most successful Dutch driver on the grid. And one of the few Dutch drivers we've had. Fortman's being one of them on tonight's grid. Holland Campion has got a couple of poles and I think a race win to his name. Not too sure about the second one though. But did get pole at Lago Maggiore, I think on his debut from season 2. Cameron Kaboom's actually got a little bit of a gap to play Dutchy, but it's not going to be big enough to pull away. As you can see, the bump draft in between these 3 proving to be quite effective. Natty in the BMW not even able to catch up in the slipstream. That's just how effective the bump drafting effect is and how slow the BMW has got after recent BOP updates. But hopefully the lack of paint and the overdose of carbon fibre will help for this race here at the Circuit de la Sarthe. Cameron Kaboom started on pole and he continues to lead this race, has led every single lap so far apart from Indianapolis, where 2 Saint decided to go for a move but had to slow down with a corner after to serve that 5/10 penalty. And we've famously had good races in the past here at Le Mans. We've previously hosted the 24 Hours of Le Mans in 2020 or 2021. It was so long ago I can't remember when it was. got to give credit to Toussaint for hosting and organising that event. Went down very successfully. But now that we do have dynamic weather, it would make for an interesting endurance race. So hopefully we can do some endurance racing in the future when the numbers get increased. We've got 10 here tonight, driving to the Circuit de la Sarthe for round 6 of season 9. And there's wonderful GT3s. But early on in this race, no one looking to go for a move. Everyone happy to sit behind the driver in front, use the slipstream to save fuel. Do some lifting and coasting, short shifting, whatever their fuel saving method of choice might be. Ooh, apologies about that. That's another one for the bloopers. Had one last week. Another one to add to the collection. Again, Bonneville looking at the inside, just trying to fill the mirrors of that McLaren. Let him know that there is a Golf Porsche in hot pursuit behind. As we start lap 4 of 13, 12 minutes into this race. And we've still got 40 odd minutes left to go. Currently, Bonneville has the fastest lap of the race with a 3 minute 58.3, about 3 seconds off what the pole time was. Just goes to show how little these drivers are pushing. Natty braking a lot later into that corner than Bonneville, it seems, nearly going to the back of the German manufacturer. As we do have a grid that's quite dominated by German and British manufacturers for this season. We've got a BMW, Mercedes, a Porsche, and the McLarens pretty much. And of course, Tim in his Subaru and Ted in the Mazda, bringing up the Japanese manufacturers. Tim in 7th is ahead of Piero in 8th, though I didn't have a great last lap, 4 minute 4.4 on lap 4. Nearly 4 seconds behind Tim, so Piero doing all the 4s. As Dutchy's picked up a 5/10 penalty, that could drop him down to maybe 4th place, assuming nobody else collects time penalties. Look at the fuel difference between Cameron and Dutchy, the difference between leading and fuel saving. Toussaint's got fairly similar amounts of fuel to Cameron, to be fair, more than Bonneville, more than Natty, who probably has the least amount of fuel, surprisingly. Let's compare him to Cameron. Yeah, Natty and Cameron have similar amounts of fuel. So to update you on how the BMW has changed since round 1, it's gotten heavier, it's slower, it's more excessive on its tyre wear, and it drinks fuel like... What does it drink fuel like? I can't think of anything. Let me know in the comments, what does the BMW drink fuel like? That looked like a move from Tiger Assassin, but wasn't close enough or late enough to send it. Bonneville say it drinks fuel like an elephant to watering hole. That is a good analogy. Cameron Kaboom's picked up a 5/10 penalty. Now, could that be a tactical penalty from Cameron Kaboom to get him out of the lead of the race? I don't think it is. But if it is, that is a very tactical play. You have to say so. To get him out of the lead of the race, let someone else lead so he can sit behind and then start saving fuel. The problem is, Dutchy's also slowing down to save fuel. I don't think Toussaint's willing to lead this race. We ride on board with the McLaren driver. Is he going to go for it on the in or the outside? Well, he does. He goes for it on the left-hand side of the circuit, gets past Cameron Kaboom, and now takes the lead of the race. Bonneville might be interested in going around the outside of the Mercedes as well. Cameron thought about resending it on the new race leader, but ends up sitting back in 2nd place for now. Happy to let Toussaint lead. Dutchy's now dropped down into 4th place, and he's ahead of his teammate Natty in 5th. And look at the fuel difference between the McLaren and the Mercedes. We're only on lap 4. BMW really shredding through its tyres, front tyres as well, compared to the Mercedes and the McLaren through the final chicane once again. Tigers having some really good final chicanes, it has to be said, often pushing the BMW through the apex. As someone who's not hit the apex, his Foreman's going quite wide through the final corner. He's opting for a different layout, using the runoff on the outside. Ted's pulled into the pits at the end of lap 4 with a 1 second time penalty. Deciding to come off those mediums early, bolt on a set of, I'm assuming, the soft compound tyres. Hello, welcome to everyone who's tuning in. Currently on lap 5 out of 13 here at Le Mans. 2 Saints run pretty wide, and I think we'll be slapped in the face with a 5/10 penalty. There it is. As he receives the bump draft from Cameron Kaboom down the back straight. Now, this race would be very interesting if we removed the 2 chicanes. It is an option we could do. Don't know how well it would work with the fuel saving. I think it could be quite costly. I don't think it would make for great racing, actually, with these current settings, because well, if we ride on board with me, look how close I am to Dutchy, but not gaining. Oh no, this is a bad example, because I was gaining on Dutchy because he was in like engine mode 6, I believe. But I'm only just gaining on the Mercedes, and Dutchy's not really gaining on Bon Evil. And imagine that for about 4 kilometres. I don't think this back straight is 4 kilometres from start to finish, but it might be actually. I don't know. Tell us in the comments, how long is the back straight without the chicane? Could Google it. Might be quicker, but back in what, 1980, 1990, I think. They initially had no chicanes there. The track was very different. Very boring, I noticed, in 1920. Oh my days. I wouldn't want to race at Le Mans back in 1920. It was practically a triangle. Although that might have been fun, just flat out at high speed. But like all tracks, this track has seen some changes over the years, but one part of the circuit that hasn't really seen much of a revamp is the track the part of the track that we're on now, the run from the Mulsanne down towards Indianapolis. The sequence of corners has been pretty much there since 1920 to the modern date. Look at that, 1.2 seconds up on his personal best, leading this race, but he's got to slow down to serve a half a second time penalty. Pulls off the racing line and lets Cameron Kaboom retake the lead of the race, or does he? Because Cameron Kaboom's only just gaining. Cameron's actually got damage, rear damage. Who's got front bumper damage? Cameron somehow picked up rear damage, and now Bon Evil's leading this race. 2 Saints going to slot into 3rd. Not sure where Cameron picked up that damage from. No one's got front bumper damage, so whether he collected it by himself, I'm not too sure, but it's pretty tricky to collect rear damage at this circuit. There are not many barriers that you can hit in the section of the track that he's got the damage at, so yeah, pretty interesting one. We're going to see anyone diving into the pits. Yes, we are. It's Play Dutchy. Pulls the trigger. Can he slow it down in time? Yes, he does. Clean pit lane entrance from the championship leader. Tim following him in, and look at the difference of fuel. 12 litres between fuel saving and rather fuel saving without slipstream. As Bon Evil leads the field down the hill through the first sector, with Cameron Kaboom in second after starting on pole position. It's 2 Saint in 3rd, Natty now up into 4th place ahead of Tiger in 5th. The top 5 still running very close together, but Dutchy has triggered the undercut. He's put 89 litres of fuel in the back of that Mercedes and gone onto the red striped soft compound tyre for maximum grip and cornering speed. Comes up behind Fortman's in 8th place. As we clock over the 20-minute mark here of the 13 laps of Le Mans. Doesn't quite have the same ring to it as the 24 hours of Le Mans. But we're here for the 13 laps of this 13-kilometre circuit. We don't have 13 drivers on the grid to round out a set, but nevertheless, these 10 drivers definitely often perform great racing week in, week out. Fortman's in 7th place and a little bit of no man's land kind of by himself. Same with Piero. Tim and Dutchy have just pulled into the pits, so Dutchy will certainly rejoin the back of the pack. As for Tim, it's going to be a tough day in the office for him to work his way back up into the top 6. But never say never. Bonneville leads this race. Cameron Kaboom's going to follow 10th penalty behind in 2nd, and will continue to sit behind in the save fuel, which is something that I have noticed about these fuel settings. The intention of bringing it down to ×2 was that you didn't have to fuel save as much, although fuel saving is still being the meta strategy this season, so maybe we might see some changes between Season 9 and Season 10 that reduce the number of bump drafting that we see. I'd rather bump drafting be used to work together to close up rather than this, effectively. But what it does mean is the pack will be very close together at the end of the race, which is what we love to see. Cameron Kaboom, though, going for it on the inside, pulls back in front of the Porsche as he takes the lead of the race here on lap 6, but will be slowing down for half a second to serve that time penalty. Leave Bonnie, Toothache, Natty, Tiger, your top 5. Piero with a half-second time penalty. Bonneville putting a very good comment in the chat, and that is exactly my thought process for next season. Whether it will be done or not, I'm not sure. We'll have to wait and see. But putting the fuel on ×1 means that there is no need to bump draft. You can just go for a move on the in or outside. Tokyo Expressway was a very good example. We've done 2 races at Tokyo in the past. One of them was the race last week where we saw bump drafting until lap 20 of a 24-lap race, effectively. And the season before, where there was no, the time before where we didn't need to fuel save, you can just go for a move. There is no need to bump draft if you can fly past the driver in front. So Dutchy pitting on the lap before might trigger a 5-car rush to the pit lane. Anyone going to go for any moves in the pit lane? Not this time round. Let's have a look at everyone's fuel level. Bonnie, Toothache and Tiger all with 41 litres, Cameron with 39, and of course the thirsty BMW with the least. Not by much though, 38 litres in that BMW. Bonnie in the chat saying as much as he loves bump drafting, it gets boring after a while. Indeed it does, as much as it promotes close, I wouldn't even call it, I don't know if you can call it, yeah, as much as it promotes close racing, it doesn't provide much action until the final 5 laps, where everyone's got enough fuel to go to the end of the race. So yeah, maybe it's a change we'll consider next season. The couple of changes might be happening next season. Something that might not be changing next season is this man leading races, but let's see where he filters out onto the circuit. Currently in 5th, goes round the outside of 1, 2, 3 cars in towards the first corner with the momentum of the drivers coming out of the pits, and is up into the net lead of the race. Piero staying up for another lap. Bonneville though putting the pressure on through the right-hander of turn 5 maybe, or 4. No, it is 5. 1, 2, 3. Yeah, 5. I lose count after 5 because there's just too long. The circuit's too long to count corners, and I couldn't actually find a track map that had the corner numbers, just the corner names, but most of them are they're all in French, understandably. But what is interesting is how far behind Natty and Cameron have come out, and they've both picked up a time penalty. I don't know how they've come out of the pit so far behind. Tiger Assassin, as Toussaint goes for a move on Play Dutchy and is up into 3rd place. Dutchy's gone from 2nd to 4th in one straight. And Bon Evil now takes the net lead of the race. So these cars fuel to go to the end, now willing to push and go for these overtakes. Toussaint on the left-hand side of the circuit alongside Bon Evil, not receiving the bump draft from Play Dutchy, who's helping the Brit regain or maintain the lead of the race in the run down towards the third chicane, the second down this back straight. But it's two McLarens versus two Germans in terms of car manufacturing. Whilst the Mercedes and the BMW behind now have to work together to catch up, but both with time penalties, and that could be another one for Callum Kaboom coming his way. I think he just about went over the white line. There you go. It's a 5/10 penalty, a total of 2 seconds for the two cars that need to catch up to the top four. Dutchy now side by side with Bon Evil in the run down towards Indianapolis. But Bon Evil's going to tuck just back in behind. Meanwhile, Cameron and Natty running in 6th and 7th place. Not much they can really do to close back down the gap. Just got to keep bump drafting and working together. On board with Natty. Hits a... But Cameron's just blown up. What's happened there? On board with them. Let's go back and watch that again. Natty's got bump front damage. But it's like a Thanos click of the fingers and Cameron just blew up. On board in the cockpit and boop, he's gone. And then he reappears on the right hand side. And then Natty with front bumper damage to the suspension as well. Cameron's got no damage from that, but a really bizarre incident. And that was another point I was about to raise about the bump drafting. Sometimes it can get... Dangerous is not the right word, but it is the right word at the same time. It can... If you get a bumped draft, if you get a bump and then bump someone else, the overspeed is incredible. To the point where you could... quite easily miss your braking point and end up in a fatal destruction of the car in front, especially at a circuit like Le Mans where there's a couple of chicanes and a hairpin after a number of long straights. If that's not a penalty for Tiger Assassin, I don't know what is. Quite wide through the exits of that corner. There you go. I don't know what that corner's called actually. I know it's after the Porsche curve, but I just call these sets to call us the final chicane. Bon Evil in the chat saying having the four of us this close reminds me of GT Sports Season 2, where I believe it was the same four fighting for the lead over the race. Or the net lead of the race, I should say, because Piero has continued for another lap on those medium compound tyres, and I think it's, as this race goes on, it's looking like a battle for the top four, with Natty and Cameron out of it after that bizarre collision between those two. So a little bit foggy through the first sector actually. The interesting thing about Le Mans and the GT7 weather system is it's such a big circuit that the rain or the weather could be impactful at one part of the circuit and not the other. I mean, yes, that's not really... doesn't really mean much when the pack is still so close together. They're all going to be affected at the same part of the circuit, but for longer endurance racing or multi-class racing, you could have half the pack going through the first sector. It could be bone dry, and you could have half the pack at sector 4 and it start raining. And speaking of, it has got quite cloudy these last couple of laps. The weather is on dynamic and random, so there is every chance of it raining. Dutchy's purple through sector 2. But I thought Body did go slightly wide from the exit of the chicane and has picked up a half-second time penalty. That's good for Tiger Assassin because he's currently running in 5th with a half-second time penalty. Not particularly, I was going to say not particularly close to the back of his teammate, but he's caught right back up with the effects of bump drafting. Another point of the bump drafting is I think there's a difference between PS5 and PS4 bump drafting. Just based on the connection. I think you can bump draft someone and then you just stop or not stop, but you lose a lot of momentum. I know that's kind of how bump drafting works, because you're hitting another car. But I think that might have been what happened with Natty and Cameron. Meanwhile, Toussaint's going for it on Bon Evil, wanting to get the Porsche out of the way as it serves its 5/10th penalty, but couldn't quite go for the move on the inside. Tiger's purple by 1.2 seconds through the first through sector 4. So look how overcast it has gotten. Halfway through this race, 31 minutes in, Bon Evil's going for it on the inside of Play Dutch. He now takes the lead of the race. A needed overtake for him to not lose too much time. It's kind of an interesting, it's interesting, but kind of logical. If you get a penalty, you then need to overtake, essentially, because if you're sat behind at the back of the pack, you're just going to drop further back. But if you are able to make your way to the front of the pack and then serve a penalty, after the penalty is served, you'll filter out either in the middle or the back of that pack. As Bonnie demonstrates here, he's going to lose maybe 1 or 2 positions, but he's still fighting with these guys. Tiger Assassin, though, I've got the gap between him and Bon Evil. It's going to be a tough job for him to close down that gap unless they're going to go slow through this final sector. And a little bit wobbly from Tiger through the Porsche curves. Natty's going for it on camera. Kaboom, right round the outside. We're going to ride on board with Natty. He swoops his BMW right round the outside of that Mercedes. A beautiful overtake from the carbon fibre car up into 6th place. And I think this lap we might see Piero. Oh, he's crashed in the pit lane. I was going to say we might see Piero into the pits this lap. I'm going to see him in the pit wall as opposed to the pit lane. If this was a live stream, we could get a replay nevertheless. So we're going to cut back 10 seconds to see what happened late on the brakes. Somehow didn't get damaged from that, but finds himself in reverse going into the pit lane. And not ideal for the man in the McLaren. On board with Play Dutchy through the final chicane, leading this race, has a McLaren taking up a lot of room in his rearview mirror. It's the new fastest lap over the race of 3 minute 55.5 from Toussaint. It's getting very overcast. Reports of rain on the radar. Is it heading to the circuit though? We'll have to wait and see. It might just brush past the track, I'm not too sure. Tiger's picked up another 5/10th penalty, so that could see him out of the battle for the top 3 unless there is drama out in front. I think he's hoping that this weather converts into the use for intermediate tyres. Natty and Cameron Kaboom have also picked up 5/10th and 1 second time penalties respectively in their battle for 5th place. It might be a race for 5th between these two. Maybe they can work together to close down the gap to Tiger. That looks wide from the BMW. Not wide enough for the game to warrant a time penalty. Tim is in hot pursuit of those cars in front, but up front, Dutchy leading Bon Evil side by side with Toussaint down towards the first chicane. Toussaint leaves all the room, has the infight for the second half of the corner, and takes 2nd place. Bon Evil's going to get a good exit. They're going to go side by side on the exit of the chicane, wheel to wheel. They've got a little bit of a gap now to Play Dutchy. Toussaint slots behind the Porsche in the battle for 2nd place. Bonnie getting a little bit of a wiggle on actually in the braking zone. But I think the winner of this race will be one of these 3 drivers as the race goes on, as the clock ticks down. It's looking ever more likely that it's going to be one of these 3. That 5/10th penalty from Tiger might prove to be costly, although the 2 cars behind him have also got time penalties, fortunately for him. Not long to go in this race, not long to go this season. After this race we stay in Europe for the circuit, the Barcelona Catalunya and then Brands Hatch before the season finale in Interlagos. It was a track actually that wasn't on my initial draft. It was added over... can't actually remember what track it was initially Interlagos, but we were set to see the season out in Spain before I made the change to add Interlagos. I honestly can't remember what track was there over Interlagos, but it wasn't on my mind. But I thought we'll just add it as the 9th race of the season. It'll be a nice track to end. A lot of people know Interlagos, and in a season where we're trying to rebuild the grid after the Super Formula season, which Bonneville claimed victory in that, winning his first championship. Hopefully next season we can get a full grid of 16. If you are interested in racing for us on a Friday evening at 8 o'clock UK time, then please message me on either PlayStation or Discord. It's XNattyG, you know where to find me. We do have spaces for the final 3 races if you would like to warm up, essentially, get to know the pace of everyone else. Because we have had some people do that. Some people have joined. I don't want to sound harsh, but realise that they're not the quickest driver on the grid, and unfortunately they just... That's the first and the last time we see of them. But we've seen it in the past that the drivers that have stuck around have gotten a lot quicker. No disrespect, but one of them is Cameron Kaboom, a driver that when he started was pretty much, solid midfield. The top 5, 6, 7 every race would be, Dutchy, Bonnie, Tiger Toussaint. We had the FGR drivers, Finn and Manuel back in the day. Cameron Kaboom was finishing most races in 8th, 9th place. But look at him now, he's got 2 pole positions this season. Le Mans and Lago, a couple of podiums to his name, and one of many drivers who are getting better, getting quicker every race he does. Tiger Assassin season 1, and he said it himself, so I will quote him, was rubbish. Finished 9th, 8th at the first half of the season, but since then he's finished 2nd place a number of times in the championship. He's got wins, he's got podiums, poles. He's currently running P4 and under pressure from one of the greatest Gavra racing drivers we've ever seen in the history of Gavra racing, who picks up a 5/10 penalty. That's how good he is. He needs to be stopped with time penalties for track limits. But it's going to be Tiger versus Natty for 5th place. Cameron Kaboom will be joining the party pretty shortly, I'd imagine. A 3-way fight for 4th and a 3-way fight for 1st. Bonneville running a little bit wide as we catch the end of that through the 3rd chicane. Picks up a 5/10 penalty for his illegal doings as well. Bonneville with 2 podiums this season. 1 podium so far this season before this race. Spoiler alert. I have updated the standings before this stream. I do have the last. I have the standings before and after this race, but I've looked at the standings. Okay, Bonneville finishes on the podium. I'm not going to say which position. I did say he had 1 win before this race, so I haven't quite spoiled that. Toussaint, well, Dutch is finished on the podium in every race he's done so far. We've got Toussaint with 3 podiums to his name, sorry. So all 3 of these drivers are familiar with the top step of the podium, and the other 2, Dutchy and Bonnie, looking to try and get a move on with it with their time penalties. Toussaint thought about sending one down the inside. Natty's got ahead of Tiger Assassin as he's going to have to slow down to serve a 5/10 penalty. Bonneville's on the inside of Toussaint, down towards Arnage, I think it's called. Bonnie and Dutchy slow down for half a second to slow their time penalties. Toussaint's going to retake the lead of the race on the left-hand side of the screen, right-hand side of the circuit in the run down towards the Porsche curves. Natty's going to lose the position to Tiger Assassin and maybe even Cameron Kaboom. So it didn't last long in 4th place. Now I know we've got some special liveries on the grid tonight, but it's very black. this new grid, black and white, or black and light, I should say, because Bon Evil has got a very light, Gulf shade of blue, which from a distance could be seen as white. So white, black, orange seems to be a very popular colour combination for this race here at the Circuit de la Sarthe. Obviously, France, very known for being black and white. Definitely. Got black and white on the McLaren, black and white, orange on the Mercedes, but a standard traditional livery for Duchy. Bon Evil in his Golf Porsche, picking up another 5/10 penalty. Cameron Gaboon, black and white with a bit of red, well, majority red. Very nice livery nevertheless. And Tiger Assassin running the same special livery as his teammate, but with green wing mirrors as opposed to red. And then Natty opting for carbon fibre with the added weight that's been introduced on that BMW after the recent BOP update the day before this race took place. Now, you can't really see it, but riding on board or close you can see the carbon fibre texture as Natty actually goes purple through the first sector, following the back of Tiger Assassin. But look at this is what I was saying, Natty's not really gaining too much on the back of that McLaren, not as quickly as you would think. It works with Tiger. Does Tiger decide to go for a move on Cameron Kaboom? Natty might go for a move on Tiger on the right hand side of the circuit, down the inside of the first chicane, late on the brakes, makes the move stick and now runs in 5th place behind Cameron Kaboom. Up front, Dutchy's working with Toussaint to try and remove Bon Evil from the battle for the lead of the race. And the rain that was seen on the radar didn't hit the circuit, I was going to say just past it, but missed by quite a mile actually. Never was really seen as a threat. Here goes ex-Natty G though down the inside of Cameron Kaboom. Is Tiger going to make it 3 wide? Not on this occasion. Natty, it does! Late on the brakes, down the inside. Cameron nearly goes wide off the track, makes contact with the McLaren. I'd like to see that one again actually, because we love to see racing again. On board with Tiger Assassin, he's lifting off and lets Cameron go through, but he's late on the brakes. Cameron goes a little bit wide, rejoins side by side with Tiger Assassin. That's Natty up into 4th place. Tiger now 5th, Cameron in 6th. I don't think the racing between those three is going to stop there, nor is it going to stop in the battle for the lead. Dutch, I think, giving Toussaint a little bit of a bump as Bon Evil goes a little bit deep on the brakes. Tiger and Cameron Kaboom behind Natty going side by side in towards the right hand with a 90-degree right-hander. Tiger on the inside up into 5th place. And he's not holding anything back. He's going for it on next Natty G. Cameron might go for it on both of them. They're going to go 3 wide perhaps in towards Indianapolis. Natty goes from 4th to 6th in one straight. The BMW not faring too well on its own. As Tiger now is up into 4th place. And I think this is the end of Bon Evil's campaign to fight for the lead of the race. It's now going to be a 2-horse battle between the 2 most successful drivers in the GT7 league. It's the 2-time champion defending from the whatever time Dutchy is, 5 I think, side by side through the Porsche curves. Dutchy on the outside becomes the inside for the second half of the chicane. Toussaint's going to try and hold it round the outside. Can he make this stick? No, tucks in behind. What about behind? Tiger and Cameron battling for 4th place. Beautiful racing between the top 2, and it's not over yet. It's in towards the final sector, sector 6 or 7, I don't know. Toussaint on the left-hand side of the circuit is the inside for the chicane. Late on the brakes, that looks late. It's a little late. He goes over the curve, makes contact with Dutchy, who has the inside for the penultimate and the final corner, and makes the move stick up into the lead of the race. Starts lap 12 of the penultimate lap in the lead. There are so many different scenarios that could unfold between now and the checkered flag, with only 8 minutes left of racing, 2 laps to go. Do you want to be leading on the last lap? Where do you want to be leading? to secure a victory. Of course, you want to be leading over the line, but you can't exactly make a move over the line, but you can do if you're behind the car in front, down a long straight, and this track offers many of those. Plenty of opportunities to overtake, but which one do you pick? So it's fair to say at this point you might as well either have some fun with it, knowing that you're the only two fighting for the lead, although one mistake could introduce Bon Evil back into the equation. Meanwhile behind, there's no stopping next Natty G, who's got past Tiger. Can he get past Cameron Kaboom on the outside of the first chicane, late on the brakes? Cameron's later though and maintains 4th place. A battle that's not going to be over. Let's ride on board from the rear wing of that Mercedes defends to the right hand side of the circuit. BMW is closing and closing and closing every step of the way. So you're going to go for it on the inside. Ex-Natty G pulls over to the left hand side of the circuit. And they are side by side in towards the chicane. Natty on the inside, Cameron on the outside. And I think there was contact between the two. Cameron's gone off and he's off the screen. He's over the first chicane. Rejoins behind Natty, behind Tiger as well. And let's ride on board with Tiger Assassin actually just to see exactly what happened between those two. I'm not sure Cameron knew Natty was on the inside there. That's a very bizarre incident. Let's watch it one more time, but I think from the onboard might be the best shot of what we've got. I won't say anyone's to blame there. Don't think the stewards are going to be spending too much time on that one. Atom though is gaining on this battle for 4th place. He could find himself in the mix here for some decent points if these guys continue to battle as much as they are. Cameron and Tiger now side by side in the run down towards the Mulsanne. Cameron gets up into 5th place again. A snap of oversteer on the exit. Bon Evil with another 5/10 penalty in the background of the battle for the lead of the race, as they disappear down over the crest and into the mist and through Indianapolis. There are crucial points to be gained in both the Drivers' and the Constructors' Championship for every driver in their individual battles. Toussaint fighting to keep the championship alive. Dutchy going into this race 32 points ahead of the driver right behind him on circuit, and could win the championship next week in Barcelona. Whether he finishes 1st or 2nd in this race, Toussaint's going for it though on the inside. That door quickly closed, but behind it's Natty who still leads Cameron Kaboom, and Tiger's not too far behind either. But it's Play Dutchy who rounds the final chicane to start the final lap of the race in the lead. He started in 3rd. He's got the fastest lap as well. 48 minutes of racing has led us to this moment. Can he extend his championship lead, or will Toussaint keep the spark burning on till Barcelona? But behind Natty, Dutchy's teammate, will be battling with Tiger to try and secure as many points for them in the Constructors' Championship. So there are two big battles going on here for the final 4 minutes of racing. 13 kilometers left of this 13-lap race. Here we go for one last time. Down the back straight we go, with Dutchy leading Toussaint, the two championship protagonists. Toussaint is gaining and gaining, but sits behind for now. In the background, Natty's picked up a time penalty, and I forgot to watch that actually because, well, in my version of the game, Cameron lagged into the back of me, made contact, and that's how I went off the track. And that could be my chance of P4 over. I mean, I've got the clip of my radar with Cameron Kaboom was on the right hand side of the track and then was on the left and then back on the right. Which really does suck from my perspective, but I guess if you're Tiger Cameron, you're licking your lips at the opportunity. Meanwhile, behind Natty and Cameron, side by side on the final lap of the race. Natty's going to try and swoop it right round the outside. And look at this, Tim is joining the party as well. He's not too far behind in the battle for fourth place. We're going to have a four-way fight for fourth here in the dying laps of this race. Up front, though, the two leaders, it's Dutzy who still leads Toussaint in towards 90-degree right-hander. I say 90 degree, it's probably about 110 degree. Nevertheless, here comes Toussaint in that BCR McLaren. So you're going to go for it on the in or outside. Sits behind the Mercedes for now. But behind, Cameron leads Natty, who goes for the left-hand side of the circuit, the outside, going in towards Indianapolis. Dutchy's lost the lead to Toussaint, who's done it round the outside. Toussaint takes the lead, but they're three wide behind. Tiger in the middle, Cameron on the inside, going in towards Indianapolis. Cameron and Natty side by side. Can Natty hold it around the outside? Becomes the inside for the left-hander. Still going side by side, but the race leaders are going to go wheel to wheel. Toussaint weaving to try and break the slipstream in the run down towards the Porsche curves. Has he got it? Has he done it? Natty and Cameron. Natty being forced into the wall as Tim has a penalty as well. But up front, it's Toussaint leading Dutchy through the Porsche curves. For the final time tonight, only a couple corners left to go for Dutchy to try and take the lead. But as the clock ticks down, there's not many places left to do it. Toussaint might have got this one. He might have done it. It's a special livery to keep the championship alive. He rounds the final corner in the lead of the race, and not by much. He wins the French Grand Prix here at the Circuit de la Sarthe, ahead of Dutchy in second and Bon Evil rounding out the top three. Tiger finishes in fourth place, ahead of Cameron Kaboom in fifth place. As Cameron picks up a time penalty over the line, so does ex-Natty G. And I think a frustration time penalty from the BMW McLaren. Well, the BMW driver, after picking up a time penalty on the last lap. Tim finishes in seventh place, ahead of Piero in eighth. Piero rounding the final two corners and crosses the line in eighth. Fortman's has kind of, well, not kind of, has had quite the lonely race in ninth place. As he makes his way through the final couple of corners to continue scoring some consistent points. This will be his fourth consecutive ninth place finish. No, fifth consecutive ninth place finish out of the 5 races he's entered. Meanwhile, Ted is making his way down the back straight in towards Nolzan. So whilst Ted continues to do laps of this track, I think we'll do the outro. Congratulations to Toussaint for winning the French Grand Prix here at the Circuit de la Sarthe. Ahead of Dutchy in second and Bon Evil in third. It was Tiger in fourth, ahead of Cameron in fifth, Natty in sixth, Tim in seventh, Pierre in eighth, Footman's in ninth, and Ted still lapping in 10th place. but we can respect him for doing it. The Mazda does sound beautiful. Let's listen to it here. I was really hoping that camera angle would continue so we could hear it fly past. Let's have another go into Indianapolis. This is a very beautiful sounding car. I don't know how long we've got left of this replay. We've got 20 seconds for Ted to finish. I'm not sure he's going to exactly get to the line on time, but we can wait and see. But anyway, I've been XNG. Thank you everyone for tuning into the stream. I will extend this outro because Ted is yet to finish, and we haven't got the post-race winner's photo yet. So yeah, congratulations to Toussaint. Join us next week at the Circuit de Barcelona for round number 7 of 9, where Dutchy continues to lead this championship. 40. Oh, never mind. We'll get our pre-race photo. We'll skip quite a bit to the end. There we go. Where should we do it? Yeah, we'll do it there. Oh, no, not in a shadow. That wouldn't look good. There we go. Thank you everyone for watching. Join us next week at Barcelona. It should be an interesting race. I've got no idea who's going to win that one. Because, well, we thought the cars that were not good in a straight line have done pretty well. So maybe the cars that were good at technical tracks might struggle. We'll have to wait and see. This is a really long, kind of unorganised outro, but hey-ho, the post-race winner's photo is very important. We'll do that, and then we'll add some of this. No, this. There we go. I've been XNG. Thank you guys for watching. It's been a long outro, and thank you for watching. It's actually been quite a long stream, over an hour. Join us at Barcelona next week, where hopefully the championship at the front. Well, we'll have to wait and see. Can Dutchy win it, or can someone else reduce that gap? We'll have to wait and see. Thank you for watching. Join us next week. Goodbye.